Most Space Marine chapters follow the Codex Astartes. They maintain 1,000 battle brothers. They organize into 10 companies. They station themselves on a homeworld and wait. The Black Templars do none of these things. They crusade, and the crusade has lasted 10,000 years. Here is every variant of Black Templar explained. Let's break this down. The Neophyte. Every Space Marine chapter has recruits. Most chapters hide them. The Black Templars throw them into the front line on day 1 and call it training. A Neophyte is a Black Templar who has received the gene seed implantation process, but has not yet earned the rank of full initiate. In a Codex-compliant chapter, this warrior would be a scout, assigned to a dedicated scout company under a veteran sergeant, given light armor and a sniper rifle, and deployed on reconnaissance and infiltration missions designed to test his skills without exposing him to the full violence of frontline combat. The Black Templars consider this approach cowardly. A Neophyte in the Black Templars does not serve in a separate scout company. He does not train in isolation. He is assigned directly to a Crusader Squad alongside fully initiated battle brothers and placed in the middle of a war zone with a bolt pistol and a combat blade, and told to learn by doing. The philosophy is brutally simple. The fastest way to produce a warrior is to surround him with warriors. The Neophyte fights beside his initiate mentor, watches how the veteran moves when the veteran fires, where the veteran positions himself during an assault. He absorbs doctrine through proximity and survives through emulation. If he is good enough, he lives long enough to earn his black carapace and become an initiate himself. If he is not, the chapter loses a recruit and gains a lesson for the next one. The attrition is deliberate. The Black Templars do not want every Neophyte to survive. They want the ones who do survive to be the kind of warrior who could survive anything. The Neophyte wears lighter armor than his initiate brethren, typically a carapace chestplate over a body glove, which marks him visually on the battlefield as the least protected member of the squad. This is not an oversight. It is a statement. The armor is earned. The black plate of a full initiate is not given. It is purchased in blood, in kills, in years of combat, at the side of a warrior who has already paid the same price. The Neophyte variant is the Black Templar's most ideologically committed unit type because it embeds the chapter's core belief into its recruitment structure. Faith is not taught in a classroom. It is forged in fire, with the enemy in front of you and a brother beside you who has already walked through the same flames. The Initiate. He is the standard battle brother of the Black Templars, and he is not standard at all. An Initiate is a fully implanted, fully armored Space Marine who has completed his time as a Neophyte, received his black carapace, and been granted the right to wear the black power armor that marks him as a son of Dorn and a servant of the God Emperor. In a Codex-compliant chapter, this warrior would be called a battle brother and assigned to one of the chapter's reserve or battle companies based on his specialization. The Black Templars do not have companies, they have crusades. An initiate is assigned to a crusade fleet and deploys wherever that fleet finds enemies worth killing, which is everywhere. Because the Black Templars have been searching for 10,000 years and have never once run out of targets. What separates a Black Templar initiate from a standard Space Marine tactically is emphasis. A Codex chapter trains its battle brothers to be generalists, equally comfortable with bolter, blade, and heavy weapon. A Black Templar initiate is trained to close distance and kill. His doctrine prioritizes melee combat above all other forms of warfare. His war gear reflects this. Where a standard tactical marine carries a bolt gun as his primary weapon, an initiate is just as likely to carry a chainsword, a power sword, or a heavy melee weapon designed to carve through armor at close quarters. The bolter is not neglected, it is simply understood as the weapon you use while you are running toward the enemy. The sword is the weapon you use when you arrive. Many initiates practice the tradition of chaining their weapons to their wrists using devotional chains, a ritual act that symbolizes their refusal to be disarmed and their willingness to die with their weapon in hand rather than release it. The chains are not practical in a strict tactical sense. They limit weapon switching and can become a liability if the weapon is damaged. But the Black Templars have never been interested in strict tactical sense. They are interested in zeal, and the chains are a physical manifestation of a spiritual vow. The weapon is part of the warrior is part of the crusade, and the crusade does not end. If you are enjoying this so far, hit the subscribe button and leave a comment with your favorite Black Templar unit. let us get back into it. The Crusader Squad. This is the unit that defines the Black Templars on the tabletop and in the lore, and it is the single most important organizational departure the chapter makes from the Codex Astartes. A Crusader Squad is a mixed arms unit composed of full initiates and unproven neophytes fighting side by side in the same tactical formation. No other chapter does this. In a Codex chapter, Scouts and Battle Brothers occupy separate organizational tiers, separate companies, separate command structures. The Black Templars erase that separation entirely. A Crusader Squad is the chapter's answer to the Tactical Squad, the Assault Squad, and the Scout Squad simultaneously, a single flexible formation that handles everything from ranged firefights to close quarters charges to the on-the-job training of the next generation. The Primaris variant of the Crusader Squad is the modern iteration, mixing Primaris initiates armed with bolt rifles and heavy weapons with neophytes carrying bolt pistols and Astartes chainswords. The squad can be configured for ranged engagement or melee assault depending on loadout, but the cultural default is always forward. Black Templar Crusader squads are designed to advance under fire, absorb casualties without breaking, and close with the enemy at sword range. The Firstborn variant retains the classic configuration, power-armored initiates and lightly armored neophytes in the same squad, armed with a mixture of bolters, bolt pistols, and close combat weapons. The Firstborn Crusader squad is cheaper in points on the tabletop, which allows Black Templar players to field hordes of bodies in a way that most Space Marine armies cannot replicate. 60 power-armored zealots advancing across the table in a solid wall of black ceramite is not tactically subtle. It is, however, extremely Black Templar. The Crusader Squad is the chapter's thesis statement in unit form. Every other chapter separates its warriors by experience, by role, by specialization. The Black Templars separate them by nothing. Everyone fights together, everyone learns together, and everyone dies together, if that is what the Emperor requires. Silas, the Sword Brethren. They are the elite. The veterans, the warriors who have fought in so many crusades, survived so many war zones, and killed so many enemies that the chapter recognizes them as something above the rank of initiate. In a Codex-compliant chapter, these warriors would form the First Company, a dedicated formation of veterans equipped with Terminator armor or veteran war gear. The Black Templars do not have a First Company, they have the Sword Brethren, a brotherhood of proven killers distributed across every active Crusade fleet rather than concentrated in a single organizational unit. This distribution is deliberate. Every Crusade benefits from the presence of Sword Brethren. Every Marshal has access to elite warriors who can turn the tide of a battle through skill and ferocity that standard initiates have not yet developed. The Sword Brethren fight with superior weaponry, power swords, thunder hammers, lightning claws, weapons that reflect their status and amplify their already formidable combat ability. Their armor is often ornately decorated with devotional script, purity seals, and the heraldry of previous crusades, turning each sword brother into a walking reliquary of the chapter's history. On the tabletop, Primaris Sword Brethren are one of the most effective melee units available to Black Templar players. Their vow-sworn bladesman ability enhances their combat output, and their access to heavy melee weapons makes them capable of cutting through elite infantry and light vehicles with equal efficiency. They are the unit that the Emperor's champion joins when he rides to war, and the combination of the champion's dueling ability with the Sword Brethren's squad-level killing power creates one of the most dangerous melee formations in the Space Marine Codex. The Sword Brethren are proof that the Black Templars' rejection of the Codex Astartes does not mean a rejection of organizational hierarchy. The hierarchy exists, it is simply earned through killing rather than through structured promotion, and the Sword Brethren are the warriors who have killed enough to stand at the top of it. The Emperor's champion. Before every major battle, before every crusade engagement, before the chapter commits its warriors to a fight that will define the next decade of the Eternal War, one Black Templar receives a vision. He does not ask for it. He does not volunteer. The vision arrives unbidden, granted by the Emperor himself, and it shows the warrior the face of the enemy's greatest champion. From that moment, the warrior is no longer an initiate or a sword brother. He is the Emperor's champion. He is given the Black Sword, one of the chapter's most sacred relics, a master-crafted blade of ancient provenance that has been carried by every Emperor's champion before him. He is given the armor of faith, artificer-grade plate that has been consecrated through 10,000 years of devotional ritual. And he is given one mission: find the enemy's greatest warrior and kill him. The Emperor's champion does not lead a squad, he does not command a formation, he does not concern himself with the broader tactical situation. He walks into the battle with one objective, and the entire chapter makes way for him because his purpose is considered divine. The duel is not optional. The Emperor's champion will seek out his target regardless of the danger, regardless of the cost, regardless of whether the tactical situation favors the engagement. If the enemy's champion is surrounded by 1,000 soldiers, the Emperor's champion walks through the 1,000 soldiers to reach him. On the tabletop, the Emperor's champion is one of the best character killers the Space Marine faction can field. His black sword hits with precision and lethality that exceeds most named characters, and his rules reflect his lore by giving him bonuses in challenges against enemy characters. He is the purest expression of the Black Templars' philosophy. One warrior, one blade, one enemy. Faith provides the rest. The Castellan. He is the Black Templars' equivalent of a lieutenant, and his title carries weight that the generic rank does not. A Castellan is a junior officer assigned to support a marshal in the field, handling tactical decisions and squad-level command, while the marshal focuses on strategic direction and the spiritual leadership of the crusade. The role is not administrative. It is combative. A Castellan leads from the front embedded in a Crusader Squad or a formation of sword brethren, directing their aggression while contributing his own. His war gear is officer grade, better than an initiate's standard kit, but below the artificer level equipment reserved for marshals and the Emperor's champion. The Castellan occupies the most interesting structural position in the Black Templars hierarchy because he is the officer most likely to be promoted to marshal, and the qualities that earn promotion in the Black Templars are not the qualities that earn promotion in a Codex chapter. A Codex chapter promotes based on tactical acumen, strategic thinking, and leadership aptitude. The Black Templars promote based on zeal, combat performance, and an unshakable conviction that the Emperor's will demands the total destruction of every enemy encountered. A Castellan who hesitates, who recommends withdrawal, who suggests that discretion might be the better part of valor, is a Castellan who will never become a marshal. The role selects for aggression, which means the marshals it produces are aggressive, which means the crusades they lead are aggressive, which means the chapter's culture of relentless forward momentum is self-perpetuating. The Castellan is the mechanism by which the Black Templars ensure that their leadership pipeline produces leaders who are exactly as zealous as the warriors they command. The Marshal. He is the commander, the leader of a crusade, the equivalent of a captain in a Codex chapter, but with a scope of authority and an operational independence that no standard captain possesses. A marshal does not report to a regimented command structure. He answers only to the High Marshal and to the Emperor. Between those two authorities, he has absolute discretion over where his crusade goes, what enemies it fights, and how the battle is conducted. This independence is a structural necessity. The Black Templars operate across the entire galaxy simultaneously, with multiple crusade fleets prosecuting wars in sectors separated by thousands of light years. Communication between crusades is sporadic at best. A marshal cannot wait for orders from the High Marshal because those orders might take years to arrive. He must make decisions independently, guided by the chapter's doctrines, the Emperor's will as he interprets it, and his own judgment, which was forged in decades of combat as an initiate, a sword brother, and a Castellan before the rank of marshal was earned. The marshal's war gear reflects his status: master-crafted weapons, artificer armor, devotional relics carried from crusade to crusade as symbols of the chapter's history and his own. His finest hour ability on the tabletop transforms him into a devastating melee combatant for a single critical turn, reflecting the lore tradition of Black Templar marshals leading the decisive charge personally rather than directing it from behind. The marshal does not point at the enemy and tell his warriors to attack. He draws his sword and walks toward the enemy, and his warriors follow because they have watched him do this 100 times before, and he has never once turned back. The High Marshal. There is one. There has only ever been one at a time. The High Marshal is the chapter master of the Black Templars, the supreme commander of every crusade, every marshal, every sword brother, every initiate, and every neophyte in the entire chapter. He is the inheritor of Sigismund's authority, the living representative of the first emperor's champion, who founded the chapter at the dawn of the second founding and launched the eternal crusade that has never ended. High Marshal Helbrecht is the current holder of the title, and he is, by any reasonable assessment, one of the most dangerous Space Marine chapter masters alive. Helbrecht fights with the sword of the High Marshals, a master-crafted power sword that has been carried by every High Marshal since the chapter's founding. His tactical philosophy is indistinguishable from his personal combat philosophy, which is to identify the most dangerous enemy on the field and destroy it through direct personal, overwhelming violence. He does not delegate the killing. He does it himself, and the chapter follows his example because the High Marshal's example is the chapter's doctrine. Helbrecht's most significant strategic decision in the modern lore was his acceptance of the Primaris Space Marines. When Robute Guilliman's torchbearer fleets arrived with the new warriors, many expected the fanatical Black Templars to reject them as an abomination against tradition. Helbrecht did not. He recognized the military value of the Primaris line, incorporated them into his Crusade fleets, and promoted sword brethren to new martial positions to command the additional forces. That pragmatism, hidden beneath 10,000 years of zealotry, is what makes Helbrecht and the High Marshal role significant. The Black Templars appear irrational. Their leader is not. He is a fanatic who understands logistics, and that combination is far more dangerous than either quality alone. Chaplain Grimaldus and the Cenobite servitors. He should be dead. He should have died at Hell's Reach during the Third War for Armageddon, when the orcs overran the city and the temple he was defending collapsed on top of him. Every other defender in that temple died. Grimaldus survived, pulled from the rubble, still clutching the sacred relics he had sworn to protect, still breathing, still fighting, still refusing to acknowledge that the Emperor had any intention of letting him die. Chaplain Grimaldus is the Black Templar's most iconic character, a warrior priest whose faith is so absolute that the chapter considers his survival at Hell's Reach to be a literal miracle. He is accompanied into battle by his Cenobite servitors, 3 mind-wiped attendants who carry the holy relics that Grimaldus recovered from the temple. The servitors are not fighters. They are reliquaries with legs, walking shrines that project an aura of devotional significance across the battlefield. Each servitor absorbs damage that would otherwise strike Grimaldus, serving as living shields that must be destroyed before the chaplain himself can be targeted. On the tabletop, Grimaldus is a force multiplier whose value extends far beyond his personal combat ability. His litanies inspire nearby Black Templar units, enhancing their melee output and their resilience. His devout ability gives him a chance to deny enemy psychic powers each round, a fitting mechanic for a chapter that abhors the witch. And his personal durability, with the servitors absorbing wounds and his once-per-battle resurrection ability restoring him to fighting condition on a dice roll, makes him one of the hardest characters to remove in the Space Marine Codex. Grimaldus is not just a unit. He is a thesis. The Black Templars believe that faith protects. Grimaldus walked out of a collapsed temple carrying sacred relics with a city burning around him. If that is not protection, the word has no meaning. The Land Raider Crusader. The Black Templars invented this variant, and it tells you everything about how they fight. A standard Land Raider is a heavily armored transport carrying twin-less cannons, designed for long-range anti-armor engagement while delivering a squad of Space Marines to the front line. The Black Templars looked at the Lascannons and asked why the tank was wasting its time shooting things that were far away when it could be driving toward them instead. The Land Raider Crusader replaces the Lascannons with hurricane-pattern bolters, banks of rapid-fire anti-infantry weapons that shred everything within close range. It adds a multi-melta for anti-armor work at point-blank distance, and it expands the transport capacity from 10 to 16, allowing the Crusader to carry a full-strength Crusader Squad with attached characters directly into the teeth of the enemy formation. The design philosophy is the Black Templars in vehicle form. Get close. Kill everything. Deliver the warriors who will kill everything the guns missed. The Crusader was originally a field modification built by Black Templar tech marines who understood that their chapter's doctrine required a transport that could keep pace with its aggression. The design proved so effective that it was eventually sanctioned by the Adeptus Mechanicus and made available to other chapters, but it will always belong to the Black Templars in spirit. On the tabletop, the Land Raider Crusader is the delivery mechanism for the chapter's most devastating melee units. A squad of Sword Brethren or Terminator Assault Marines riding inside a Crusader, crashing into the enemy line while the Hurricane Bolters clear the approach, is one of the most thematically satisfying and tactically devastating plays available to a Black Templar army. The Crusader does not sit back and provide fire support, it charges, because it is a Black Templar vehicle, and Black Templar vehicles do not know how to do anything else. The Primaris Conversion. This is not a single unit, it is a transformation that affected every unit on this list and changed the chapter's structure in ways that are still being debated in the lore. When Roboute Guilliman returned and launched the Indomitus Crusade, he brought with him the Primaris Space Marines, a new generation of warriors created by Archmagos Belisarius Cawl, using improved gene seed technology that produced taller, stronger, more resilient Astartes than the original template. The Black Templars were one of the chapters that accepted the Primaris reinforcements, and the integration reshaped their Crusade fleets from top to bottom. Primaris Crusader Squads replaced Firstborn Crusader Squads as the primary battle line formation. Primaris Sword Brethren brought new weapons and new tactical options to the veteran elite. Primaris Neophytes fought in lighter armor alongside their Primaris Initiate mentors, maintaining the chapter's tradition of mixed experience squads in the new biological framework. The conversion was not entirely smooth. Some lore sources suggest that individual Crusade fleets resisted the integration, viewing the Primaris warriors as outsiders who had not earned their place through the chapter's traditional crucible of neophyte service and battlefield promotion. Others suggest that Black Templars who crossed the Rubicon Primaris, the dangerous surgical procedure that converts a Firstborn Marine into a Primaris Marine, survived at unusually high rates, a phenomenon that some within the chapter attribute to the Emperor's direct intervention and others attribute to the Imperial Fist's gene seeds against inherent resilience. Regardless of the cause, the result is a chapter that is now larger, stronger, and more capable than it has ever been, while retaining the organizational culture, the melee doctrine, the devotional fervor, and the absolute refusal to stop crusading that has defined the Black Templars for 10,000 years. The armor is bigger, the warriors are taller, the swords are longer, the faith is exactly the same. And that is every variant of Black Templar, from the Neophyte with a combat knife and a prayer to the High Marshal with a relic blade and 10,000 years of crusade behind him. They are not the largest chapter. They are not the most strategically sophisticated. They do not have librarians, they do not have psychers, they do not have a homeworld, a fortress monastery, or a single company that stays in one place long enough to call it home. What they have is a fleet, a sword, and a belief so absolute that it has sustained an unbroken military campaign for 100 centuries. The Codex Astartes says a chapter should number 1,000. The Black Templars number 6,000, spread across dozens of Crusade fleets, and the Inquisition has never been able to confirm the exact count because the Black Templars have never stopped moving long enough to be counted. Sigismund started the Crusade to prove his loyalty. 10,000 years later, the Crusade is still running, and the loyalty has never once been questioned. The Emperor asked for warriors. The Black Templars sent all of them.